If you're looking for a new way to support the podcast, check out Dubby.gg, an energy supplement company trying to make a difference. There, you can use code SIDEMISSION for 10% off your order. Thank you to Dubby for sponsoring this episode, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. I, like always, am your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by the boys, Kyle Lynch and Matt Beck. And today we are finally talking about Resident Evil Requiem, or as I have told both of y'all, my early pick for Game of the Year this year. This is my very, very early pick for Game of the Year. If you were curious in a couple sentences how good this game is, there you go. This, I think, has taken over my number one spot in terms of the Resident Evil games I've played. It's overtaken Resident Evil 4 Remake, in my opinion. I think this game is phenomenal. And Kyle, it starts from the very beginning because, dog, the first level you get to, when you get past the tutorial and you get into the Rhodes Hill Care Center, dude, that is like peak survival horror level design. I think Capcom might have made their best level yet.
Absolutely. This game, first of all, from the very beginning, I was beyond impressed with the graphics here. Holy shit, did they cook. It looks so good. And, man, that whole entire tutorial, I knew I was in for a next level horror game, because when shit is scary before you've even seen an enemy yet, oh man, I knew they were about to fuck me up. The flashback sequence was great. I think that was actually one of the best scenes in the entire game still.
Yes.
But dude, the horror element, it's been a while since I've played a game where I was legitimately like, I think I'm going to be done playing today because I'm going to have nightmares if I don't. I was very impressed.
Like that first level where you encounter the girl, or I guess they kind of hint at like her being called like the Shadow Ghost early on, and then you find out that it's this girl that was experimented on and she mutated into what you see now. Like that section to me is like one of the best tone setters in a horror game that I've ever played. That whole section really does set the tone for the rest of the game of, hey, this is what it's going to be like when you're playing as Grace. This is what it is going to be like. You are going to be terrified the entire time. You are never going to feel comfortable. And that is pretty much what the rest of the game is. Grace is like, which speaking of, Angela Santalbano, the voice actress for Grace, if she is not nominated for Best Performance, the award should not exist. The award should not exist because the scene in the flashback where you witness her mother's murder, oh my God. You could have convinced me that Capcom murdered her actual mother in the booth. You could have, like, that is voice acting with the rent due right there. She was incredible. I think, especially for a newcomer, a new character in the series. Ethan Winters was a solid protagonist in both Biohazard and Village. He was a good protagonist, but he had issues that I very much, there are some issues when I go back and play those games that I have with him. Grace is one of the best newcomers I think they've ever had. Like, she was phenomenal in this game. And I thought that her sections, her not being this gigantic badass, and like Kyle, you mentioned like the details, like when you first aim a gun with her, you see her hands trembling. You can see that she is a field analyst, or she's an evidence analyst in the FBI that doesn't have field training, which, by the way, I want to say something that I think all three of us will agree on. One, because it's funny, but two, because it's just true. I don't think the real villain of this game is Umbrella. I don't think the real villain of this game is the Connections. I don't think that it's Victor Gideon. I think the real villain of this game is her jackass boss in the FBI for sending her with no backup, with no field training to this place where her mother was murdered. And his answer is, maybe it's time to face the past. Like, that dude is the real villain of this damn game. Whenever Resident Evil 10 comes out, hopefully it's an expansion of this story and we learn more. You cannot convince me that Victor Gideon did not have influence within the FBI to get Grace Ashcroft sent to this, to get her in this whole predicament. Because, Matt, you mentioned it.
I believe it.
like Matt, you mentioned it. How long was she gone? And there's no mention of like a missing person or anything. How
Yep,
long was she
dude.
missing? Like that to me was crazy that like you would send this evidence analyst who has no field training. You would send her with no backup by herself into this dangerous situation where she has trauma. Like I was like, dude, you're the worst boss of all time. I've worked for some bad bosses. My current boss is the best boss I've ever worked for. I've worked for some bad bosses. He would take the cake. This guy is terrible. This guy's a piece of shit. But back to like the real stuff, Matt. Like one thing that has been talked about a lot with this game is the split between playing as Grace, playing as Leon, playing as the more survival horror aspects of Resident Evil with Grace, and the more action side of it with Leon. I feel like this game blends it very, very well. I think that they need to be commended because I do think it could have been blended slightly better, but I think they did a really good job of blending these two styles of gameplay and using one to build tension and one to release that tension. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, like, I mean, everybody has always just talked about how much, since we got Resident Evil 7, when we get back to the survival horror aspect of Resident Evil, that it did it phenomenally, and we got a bit of that also in Village. But then when we had, Resident Evil 4 Remake, we got to go back to that more action-oriented Resident Evil. So this game really blended in both aspects of the gameplay, the game style of what we have experienced in past Resident Evils, and it did it excellently. Like there wasn't a time where I felt like I was playing Grace for too long or I was playing Leon for too long. Plus, as far as the story goes, I love the way that Leon is introduced and how he and Grace end up finding each other. Like Leon's just investigating another murder that's going on, and he ends up coming across Victor Gideon in the streets, and takes notice that this is our target, and he sees that she's carrying somebody, and then as Victor's escaping, he's infecting these people with the T virus, and then Leon just goes to fucking town, shooting them in the heads, watching them get hit by cars. Um, I love them. I love the little like melee moments where if you're like close up to like a vehicle and you like melee attack a zombie, you just like kick their fucking head in. Like Leon is so fucking badass. Like I will always like prefer him, like love him as the best protagonist in Resident Evil games. And like they just love the fact that this is a hardened veteran Leon, like not from like Resident Evil 2 if you play the remake and he's just starting off in the RPD, but here he's just that badass that we know him as from Resident Evil 4, and I guess if you like 6 from that one as well. Like here he is, this is fully evolved Leon, and like if you grew up with Resident Evil, you grew up with these characters. It was just so cool to see him aging and even noticing the fact that he himself is infected.
Yeah,
I think that. Oh, go ahead, Kyle. My bad. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I really liked how they did the camera angles with Leon and Grace. How for Grace it reinforced that survival horror. With the first person, I think it was so much scarier in first person.
Yeah.
And as Leon, it was very much the action horror where it was third person because it was much faster paced. I mean, you're doing more. I am actually going to do a replay where I play Grace third person and Leon first person because I want to see the swap, but I love how they set that up in the beginning and say, we have these camera angles set up for a reason. You can change them. Absolutely play with the recommended settings first, because if you play Grace third person your first try, I don't think it will be as scary.
I will say, as somebody that I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but as somebody that has done 3 full playthroughs of the game so far, I will say playing that first playthrough in first person as Grace is a must. You have to. Like it's such a unique experience because we've seen first person in Resident Evil. We saw it again with Ethan Winters in both Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village. We saw it in both. And it works. It works because Ethan Winters is kind of that any man where it's like, okay, you can put yourself in his shoes and it doesn't really lose much. Whereas Grace, you are playing as a character that, in first person, again, it's a relatable. Grace is a very relatable character. She's very clearly got anxiety. She is some form of autistic, hence the stammering, hence the stuttering. She very clearly that's something that a lot of people can relate to. So playing in first person, I think, allows you to put yourself in her shoes, and it enhances that horror, especially the first time the girl pops up. That's terrifying. I mean, the first time in the care center you face down the chef or you get caught by the chunk, like that, seeing all that in first person, it enhances it so much. I also like that there are distinct differences if you've when and you guys will see this when you play as Grace in first person versus playing as her in third person. There are distinct differences to how she moves. There's very like in first person, she moves much slower, but she stumbles a lot less. In third person, I keep having to yell at her to get off the floor. I keep having to yell at her to get off the ground. Grace, there is a monster chasing you. Get off the ground. Like constantly. Yeah, girl, get your act together. Like, but I like that there are very clear differences, and I thought that was really, really good. I thought the care center as a whole, I thought was one of the defining levels of this game, and to me, this is up there with like the RPD or the Spencer
Yeah.
Mansion of the old OGs of like
Yeah.
this is going to be remembered in that same vein. And Matt, I wanted to say something on the vein of like Leon. This game for me was the reinforcement that when you talk about who the poster character is of Resident Evil, some people would say it's Chris Redfield, some people would say it's Jill Valentine, some people might even say someone like Claire Redfield. I feel like it is 100% without question it's Leon Kennedy. It
Let
can't
me
be
just say
anybody
this.
else.
Let me just say this, and why is Leon? Let's take a look at what Resident Evil 9 sold. What 5 million copies within the first couple of 4 days? Like it
Yes.
hit 5 million. Like that, people like Leon. That's why we got Resident Evil 4 remake. That's why we got the Resident 2 remake. Like that's the character. Like people really like Leon, and for good reason. Like he's a really well, understood character. Like he's definitely the most. I mean, I guess for some reason girls like to mod him wearing like freaking Playboy bunny suits, whatever.
That's gross.
But yeah, like what I mean, in Village, you barely even got to play as Chris. Really, I mean, Chris was like a popular character, like Resident Evil 5. Um, but like, I mean, we haven't seen a remake for that yet. Like, I don't see a lot of people demanding a remake for it, whereas there's some controversy going behind it. But at the same time, it's like I feel like with Resident Evil 10, like I could see it being like a culmination of like maybe everybody coming back, like Leon, Jill, Claire,
Chris,
I,
yeah.
Chris. I don't think Shiva would make a comeback. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, I very much am looking forward to whatever they do with Resident Evil 10 because it does look like they are setting up for a Leon Kennedy, Chris Redfield game where they're both actually back together, and I like that.
Yeah.
I want to see more of that, especially knowing that if you look at the post credit scenes of this game, this story's not over. This story is very clearly this is not the ending of this story. It's still going to go.
Can I add something real fast?
Yes, go ahead.
Just like
Wow.
I don't know why, but for me, when I started off at Village, it almost felt like they were trying to villainize Chris. To be honest with you, like you didn't understand why he was gunning them down in their house, like until you played the game much further in. But I was like, that's kind of a character assassination for me right there.
Well, and also I've said that the Village, in replaying it, Village very much has an issue that The Last Jedi had, and it's that all of these problems could be fixed by just simple communication. Just simple communication could fix a lot of these problems, and it kind of breaks that immersion a little bit, where it's like, why don't you just have him tell Ethan why he's doing what he's doing, what's going on? Why does it take getting to the end of the factory before any of that happens? It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I love Village. I think Village is a great Resident Evil, but I do think that when you look at Leon in terms of the top characters, 3 of the best Resident Evils that have ever come out were 2, 4, and now Requiem.
Yeah.
And all of them feature Leon. All of them feature him. Those are, I think, widely what people would agree. If you ask people what the top 3 Resident Evil are, a lot of people that have played Requiem are going to say this, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2, for a lot of people, is still the best Resident Evil game in their opinion. Resident Evil 4, especially the remake, is a lot of people's favorite still. This game, I think, is going to be a lot of people's favorite. Like, that is not a coincidence that Leon is the main character or is one of the main characters in each of these games. That is not a coincidence, one bit. Now, I do want to go ahead before we get to this next part. I know the game has been out and I know that it was marketed, but I do want to say spoiler alert for this next little bit. Just because a lot of this stuff in the late part of the game will hit a lot better if you don't know about it. I actually did not know. Starting now, 3, 2, 1. I actually did not know we were going to be going back to Raccoon City. I had no idea about that.
That was
and
huge.
apparently it was marketed. Like, Kyle, do you remember that feeling? I was watching you play it. Do you remember that feeling where it did that little like that big wide shot of the ruins of Raccoon City, and then at the beat drop in the music, it said Leon Raccoon City? That was hair raising. that was a badass moment.
That was the best, character card that they did out of all of them. I felt chills being back there, and playing that entire section just made me want to replay 2 all over again, because the way that they called back to so much stuff. I mean, God, that was so good. If you have a chance to play 2 Remake, absolutely do, because it's going to make those sections hit so hard. And the return of a couple of characters, I think that they could not have done a better callback section than they did in this, because I don't know. I mean, there are sections from 3 and 4 that maybe you could, but RPD is really that's the only one that I think would hit, and it did. And, I will never stop glazing that entire part of the game. I wish that lasted forever. It was so good.
The RPD section specifically was just such a cool moment to have Leon return to this place where all of this began. And it's this place that in Resident Evil 2, it's falling. It's in the process of really fall, because that's what Raccoon City is. It's in the process of falling as a whole. And now you return and it's ruins. It's just, you're seeing all this stuff. Like, you see some of the puzzles that you did in Resident Evil 2. You see some of that, and it's like Leon almost going down memory lane. It's almost to the point where this game becomes Resident Evil greatest hits, because you start seeing all this. I have to ask, Kyle, what was your reaction? I wish I'd been in the party. What was your reaction when Mr. X came bursting through the floor?
I screamed. I actually screamed, because I was not expecting that. Like, being back at RPD was awesome. I thought Mr. X was gone, especially after all this time. And boy, is he just as scary as he was in 2, because I thought, okay, when he first shows up and, you're supposed to run from him, I didn't do that. I stockpile ammo in these games, because when a boss fight comes, I like to just unload everything I got right away. And so I'm just blasting him. And he's down on the ground. I'm blasting him. And I'm like, man, this guy takes a lot of damage. And then I look in the corner and it says run. You can't kill him. You have to run. Oh, man. I reset because I lost all my fucking ammo.
It brought back that tension of like escaping from him in Resident Evil 2 remake. Honestly,
yeah,
like, you go around a corner and dude just freaking like one punch fist the fucking wall and walks right through, and you're like, I gotta find a different way around. Like, it was so tense.
I kind of want you both to do the speed run, because as someone that's done it, that part was the part that worried me the most. Was the Mr. X part. That part in the speed run, that worried me. Because I was like, I feel like in trying to rush, I feel like I'm gonna make multiple mistakes and I'm gonna screw myself. That part was very, like, the tension was there. And then also the inclusion of Zeno, who I think we've come to understand now is a clone of Albert Wesker. He doesn't end up really playing much of a role, but man, the doors open from the care center and you see him for the first time. I could not have been the only one that was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, dude.
I thought Wesker came back from the death. I looked at him, I was like, didn't you die?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
I was like, why are you here? I was like, I thought we were done with you. Like, it was crazy. But I also have to say, a lot of this final part it is carried by the fact that, dude, Victor Gideon is just a fantastic Resident Evil antagonist.
Yes.
He
Yep.
is just awesome. Like Victor Gideon, when he has that moment at the end where Zeno is like giving his big spiel and he's like, "Oh, well, my master, he outwitted all of us," and he's just like he's toying with Zeno, and you can just feel in that cutscene that he is not going to live through that cutscene. You just know he's about to one shot Zeno and kill him, and when he does, it's like, all right, boss fight time. Here we go. Like it is terrifying. I have to ask, when it comes to releasing or destroying Elpis, we all three chose release, right?
Yeah.
Have y'all seen the cutscene if you destroy it?
No. I imagine it's pretty depressing.
Oh, it will make you feel so bad about yourself. It will make you feel it. I encourage you to go look it up because it is hard to watch. It's very hard to watch. But in terms of the ending of this game, I don't know about you guys, but in terms of just a story moment, I loved when they thought there was no way out. I loved Leon's line of, "I'm
Yes.
just going to sit here with you. I'm just going to sit here
Yep.
with you, and whatever happens, happens." Because that is what Leon Kennedy would do. And again, as great as Angela Santalbano is at portraying Grace, Nick Apostolides has been fantastic in both the remake of Resident Evil 4 and now Requiem. He has been fantastic as Leon Kennedy. I've loved playing these games with him in it because that line, I was like, this to me is the difference and why I think Leon is the poster boy of Resident Evil. That's a hero. That's a
Yep.
hero right there. I don't know if Chris Redfield would do that. I don't know if Jill Valentine would do that. But Leon Kennedy sure as hell would. I love that, and I loved how this ending stuff. If there's one gripe I had about the ending, it is that I wish there had been some stakes in the sense that I wish Emily had stayed dead.
Yeah, that kind of just felt like that they were just trying to appease, the general audience because obviously with the scenes with Emily, we've grown to grow a relationship with her between Grace and Emily, especially when you find out the truth behind Emily's existence. And I just felt like that the story baby would have had more impact if she had stayed dead instead of Leon basically being like, I didn't hit any kind of major arteries or whatever, and the
I'm
creature
like,
that she
Leon,
becomes.
I just dumped like 20 bullets into her. What do you mean?
Exactly. So, I mean, I didn't hate that they kept her alive. I thought it was a kind of a sweet moment that Grace adopted her pretty much. But I think my only complaint with the ending is, Grace, why did you go back to the FBI after what your fucking
Yeah.
boss did to you?
Yeah, I'm just like, and you see that, like the look on her boss's face at the end when he asks for the report, and I'm just like, this dude's
Damn,
evil.
you survived.
This dude's evil. Like, I'm like, I can't look at this dude any other way. And that just like normal bosses would probably be like, it's a relief that you're safe. I'm really sorry that we sent you into that. He's just like, hey, you got that report, by the way? I know you nearly died several times. You got that report, by the way? Like, I need that now. And it's like, boy, give me
Are
a
you finished with
second.
those errands? Are you finished with those errands?
Like, it's like, am I an intern or am I an employee here? Like, what am I doing? Like, you want coffee with that report? Like, it's like it's how I felt at the end of it. I was like, damn, dude, you are awful. But I did like again, like the full circle of, Grace finds out that she ultimately was adopted by Alyssa Ashcroft and that, she ends up doing the same thing for Emily and taking her in. Like, I did like that as a cute moment. I liked that. But there was also part of it that I was like, I also would have liked if maybe there had just been some stakes here. If maybe
Yeah.
Emily's death was finite instead of something like, oh, I didn't actually kill her. Okay, Leon, sure. I emptied a whole clip into her, but you can say that if you'd like.
Oh, but Rusty, there are stakes. Just don't release Elpis. There's your stakes.
There's your stakes right there. Destroy Elpis, and you can watch one of the most depressing cutscenes in all of gaming. Right there. I'm not even gonna spoil it. Go watch it. It is miserable. Like people, I have seen people like pick this on their first playthrough, and they're just like the cutscene ends, and they're just like, "Am I a fucking moron? Like, am I an idiot? Like, why did I do that? Like, that's stupid." But I think that this is a game. Again, I stand by it. I don't give a shit about a GTA. This is game of the year right now for me. I'm sorry. GTA is not doing anything, in my opinion, that puts it above this. Like, there are other games that come out. Crimson Desert, which, spoiler alert, I don't think we're going to be covering that. Crimson Desert might be fantastic and might do something and might end up being better than this. I can live with that. GTA, Grand Theft Auto is not doing shit to put itself above this in terms of a better video game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Wolverine might be the only one I see some competition for, but that's about it.
Like Wolverine would be fair. I'm just like, there is no like, if Dustblood comes out this year, I don't think it is, but like, I could see it. But like GTA, I'm so tired of hearing about GTA. I'm sorry. Like, this to me is game of the year in every way. I have gone back and forth. I would give this game a damn 10. I don't care. I've gone back and forth 10, 9, 9.5. I'm giving this game a damn 10. I'm sorry. I love the game too much. It's a fucking 10. And also, I wanted to say this as well, because we actually hadn't gotten to do this on an episode. The Switch 2 version is beyond impressive.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. I definitely wanted your input on that, because there may be some people out there who are like second guessing it because it's the Switch.
If you only have a Switch 2 and that's the only way you can play this game, take the leap. Do it. Trust me. It is a downgrade from PS5, Xbox Series, and it's definitely a downgrade from PC. This is by far the most impressive Switch or Switch 2 port I've ever seen. It is very impressive. I've played about 3 hours of it. I just got done with the basement section, which I'm not proud of how much I've memorized that section. I'm not proud of that at all. But
this is his new rift apart.
Yeah, this is my new rift apart right here. but the Switch 2 version in handheld and docked, I've been very impressed with it. I've had one section where I had some frame drops. But outside of that, the frame rate's been very, very stable. The textures are still really high quality. I think that if you only have a Switch 2 and you really want to play this game, do it. Like, it's a modern release, and it is competing with the other versions of it on PS5 and Xbox. Like, that's impressive. Like, Capcom for real deserves a big round of applause for optimizing it as well as they did for the Switch 2. It's a really, really good port, and it kind of falls in line with how good the Chronos port was as well. If you guys think back to Chronos New Dawn, that game on Switch 2 was very impressive. So much so, I know that I'm going to be playing Pragmata on PS5. If Pragmata is a great game, I might double dip and try it on Switch 2 as well, because a lot of people have raved about that on the Switch 2.
Yeah, the demo ran well. Yeah.
So it's impressive. Like, again, if you only have a Switch 2, you have nothing else, do it. It's worth it. It's worth the $70. You will love the game, and you'll probably replay it like I have. So, before we go, boys, have we missed anything? Is there anything else we wanted to talk about? Maybe the DLC rumors. I know that obviously the DLC leaks
I do
come
have
out.
one thing to say. I do have one thing to want to say. It does look like our boy is married.
It does. It does look like he is married. It's definitely Ada Wong, right?
I feel like it's Ada. I 100% feel like it's Ada.
To the people that think it's Sherry, that's weird.
Yeah, that's really weird. When she was a child.
Like, guys, that's weird. Like, let's not. That's bizarre.
And it's not the president's daughter, so we can throw that out.
It may not be Ash. It's not Ashley, but listen, I could understand that way more than Sherry. Sherry was a child when they met. That's weird. I'm sorry. I do not care. But nonetheless, I feel like we've touched on everything. It does look like the DLC, and I'm excited for this. If the leaks are accurate, which I know I sound like Matt going into leaks right now. It sounds like the first DLC is going to be regarding Alyssa Ashcroft and all the events before Requiem. So I'm excited for that. And it sounds like the second DLC is going to be Leon focused on what he was doing during the events of both Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village. So I'm very, very intrigued by both of those. By the time when I've got the platinum of this game, I probably won't come back to it until the DLC drops. But the moment the DLC drops, I will be there no matter what. So that is going to do it for this episode of Side Mission. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can follow us on Facebook as well at Side Mission Podcast. For the boys, for Kyle, for Matt, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening.